Hi everyone. I wanted to take a few moments just to share my thoughts and perspectives on what's going on at the moment. First few days back in the office, there's only a couple of us in at the moment, and we've had a little bit of a chance to reflect and explore and discuss some of the things that we're seeing happening around us on the planet. And we talk about our analogy of the bridge. If we imagine the pressure demands an individual experiences like pressure on their bridge. Doesn't matter who you are, how mentally tough, how resilient you are. If we keep putting pressure on your bridge, loading up with work pressures, financial pressures, relationship challenges, etc., eventually it's going to get to a point where your bridge is going to start bowing and buckling and could even potentially go on to collapse. If we expand that to a family unit, a team, an organization, the same analogy is still relevant. We've started to think that actually that analogy is relevant across society. What's on society's bridge? And when I say society, I'm talking about globally. We've got the pandemic, we've got the economic impact that's having on a lot of people's lives. We've got lockdown, not being able to connect and communicate with friends, family, loved ones. And add to that now the tensions that are being created as a result of the tragic murder of George Floyd last week, but at the hands of someone that's paid to protect and serve the community. Essentially, we've got a bit of a tinderbox situation. It's like a forest that hasn't had any water for a very long time. A small spark could literally cause things to inflame beyond control. And that's what we're facing, a societal bridge that's in danger of collapsing. And it's scary times. I think this is where we've all got a personal responsibility to be contributing and lending our voice to creating a better future. And with that in mind, I just wanted to talk about one of our modules that we talk about in our framework to create a culture of well-being. And that is that of empathy. And I think at this particular moment, our ability to be empathetic to others is more important than ever before. And let's also talk about the difference between sympathy and empathy. This was really highlighted for me a few years ago, in 2017, when sadly and tragically, with no prior notice that something like this could happen, my dad passed away of a brain hemorrhage. Perfectly fit, healthy individual that literally had a brain hemorrhage and then was, in a very short period of time, was gone. And it was one of the most traumatic experiences I've ever been through in my life. And he was a very popular, well-loved member of society. And when we had an event to celebrate his life, literally thousands of people turned up. And I remember standing there at the front of the venue with my family and people coming one by one to offer their respects and condolences. And as I stood there, people would come along and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Neil. I feel so sorry for you. You've got to be strong. Be strong for your family. It's going to be okay." And essentially offered me their sympathy. Very important we understand the difference between sympathy and empathy. And essentially, they were telling me how to feel or feeling sorry for me, which at first made me feel sad, but eventually started to make me feel very angry. Because they had no idea what I was going through. They couldn't begin to understand what I was feeling or what I was experiencing. And they were actually invalidating my feelings by attempting to be sympathetic or being sympathetic in the way that they felt they were attempting to be supportive. Actually, it was counterproductive. And it wasn't allowing me to feel and express the whole range of emotions that I was going through. I wanted to crawl under the floorboards and cry my eyes out and just have the world swallow me up. There were a few people that approached me and said, "Neil, I have no idea what you're going through. I have no idea what you're experiencing right now. I can't begin to relate to it because I've never lost someone that close to me." And as much as they weren't trying to pat me on the back and say, "Oh, everything's going to be okay," that actually offered me some kind of comfort. Their willingness to be able to understand or to relate to what I was going through actually made me feel a lot better. Relating this back to what's going on right now, I'm seeing a lot of people from different backgrounds that are showing, well-intentioned sympathy. When we've got people from the Black community that, frankly, have been subjugated, have been victims of oppression and racism for hundreds of years, And not just people from the black community, people of all ethnicities, of a whole variety of different backgrounds that have been subjected to hate or intolerance because of their race, color, culture, creed, religion, sexuality, people from the LGBT community, women that may have been held back because they're female. And this for me, the fact that we're in 2020 and we're still experiencing these kind of challenges, it breaks my heart. And people that are not directly experiencing those issues, talking about those issues and claiming to know better, like the Me Too movement. And the video I saw online last year of Tony Robbins, a big white male, literally diminishing the whole Me Too movement as victimhood. It's like, you cannot possibly understand or relate to that because you're not a woman and you've never experienced that. So unless you have first-hand experience that, don't attempt to feel sorry for someone or try and placate them. At best, just try and understand what they might be experiencing. And it's the same with what's going on right now, particularly with the issues around George Floyd. Unless you've ever been the kind of person that has been petrified that a policeman's going to pull you over and you might die as a result of it, you cannot possibly understand what that feels like. So for us to be able to engage in those issues, and it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to have these conversations. It's uncomfortable for me to make this video because I know there's a lot of people going to watch this and going to react negatively because it triggers us. But unless we're willing to have these discussions, unless we're willing to put ourselves in someone else's shoes, or at least try and relate to what that might feel like, you cannot possibly even begin to understand and for us to come together in unity and solidarity. And I think this is the time when we need to do that. Given the fact that 2020 has been one of the most challenging years in history, or in my personal history anyway, with all the things that we've been through, this is the time for us to reach out and for us to come together and for us to have that sense of society and community, which is inclusive to all, regardless of your background, your beliefs, your color, your religion, your sexuality, your gender. These things aren't relevant. The only thing that's relevant, we are all a part of the problem, we're all a part of the solution, because we're all a part of the human race. And the moment we can start seeing the things that bring us together and combine us, rather than the things that separate us, this will continue. And I genuinely hope that in 100 or 200 years from now, that people look back at this time and previous times and wonder what the hell we were up to. Destroying the planet and hating each other and having divisions based on our differences. Because I think we need to mature beyond this. And the first step, as I said, is to be willing to engage and see people's perspective, even if it's not your own. Be willing to put yourself in the position of someone that may face challenges that you will never face. And there are many people I know that say, well, you know what? Yeah, Black Lives Matter, but all lives matter. Yes, that's true. But at this precise moment, not all lives are victims to the kind of things that Black people are likely to face. In Britain today, there are more people in boardrooms of the FTSE 100, the largest businesses in the UK, that are called Dave than are women or ethnic minorities. Let me say that again. You're more likely to end up in the boardroom of a large organisation in Britain today if your name is Dave, and then if you're a woman or ethnic minority. We still have a lot of work to do. And this isn't someone else's responsibility. Like with climate change, like with the environment, like with all of the other issues, it's not a politician's responsibility. It's not a community leader or a religious leader's responsibility. It's not a big business leader's responsibility. Every person that is a part of this society has an obligation and a responsibility to create change. And thankfully, people are. They're getting out and they're marching and they're protesting and they're making sure their voices are heard. Now, whether you choose to do that by way of protest or sharing your thoughts and opinions or just engaging in dialogue, there are more of us together than there are of the people that choose to keep us where we are today. So let's come together. Let's start connecting and working towards a better future. Thank you.